I've obviously
Good
misjudged
evening,
it a
everyone.
little bit.
Welcome to Nice Boys. We're just talking. The timing's all wrong. Ben.
Oh no!
We're so professional. We've got a glimpse behind the screens at Ben's heating arrangements.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Sorry about that.
It's not
There's
all
only
rock.
heating engineers in the audience.
It's not all rock and roll on the Baltic Star, unfortunately. Good evening and welcome to tonight's Boys from the Baltic Star, where we role play and we answer your questions on keeping your house at a comfortable temperature. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's Friday, and as it's Friday, that means we are going to do some Traveller. Traveller is what we like to do on a Friday, and so we're glad that you could join us for that. It's our favourite science fiction game. It's our favourite game. It's what our channel is built on. And so it's always a joy when we can sit together and continue our ongoing adventure. And it's a joy to have you, dear viewers, in with us tonight. If it's your first time, you're very welcome. Please feel free to stay for as long or as short as you want. We generally run two and a bit hours these days. We started going a bit long, but we're reining it in. We're getting old and we're getting tired. So we're keeping it snappier. So two and a bit. We'll get a break at some point in the middle. We say in the middle. It's normally when Ben suddenly realises, and then there's like 15 minutes in the second half. But that's okay. We're also old, so we also need the toilet from time to time as well. So be there for the break if you need to. Again, if it's your first time, please feel free to chat or don't. We're a friendly stream. If we get any regulars that come in, they can be quite chatty as well. And you are very welcome to get involved or not. Lurkers are good. We love our lurkers, but we also love our chatters. If any three of us are not busily engaged in the story, you might find that we will chat along with you as well. There's a little red sun there you can click on to spend some points. Usual sort of role play stream stuff. You can give us a boon, which is always nice, which helps. You can name one of our characters and they remain canon for the rest of the adventure. We've got an encyclopedia and there are canonical names that people have bought that live forever in this game. Well worth the money. If you click one of those pinkish things, you can make a sound effect thing happen. Things like clonk can affect the game because someone has to hit someone. Just have a look through, see what you fancy. There's one special one that's 1 credit and it stays 1 credit forever. It's the I'll drink to that. If we say something or something goes on and you want to agree with it, then you can redeem it for 1 credit and you're sort of raising your glass and you're agreeing that you will indeed drink for that. Maybe you can't drink with a wonderful Grey Hill Bass mug like I have, and but you know you can get them from our spring shop if you need to. While wearing your, I'm very merch tonight. I suddenly realised I'm doubling up on the old merch. I'm very pleased with myself. Yes, I think that's all. Shall we do some instructions? Then we'll hand over to our master of ceremonies for this evening. My name is Luke. I'm in the bottom corner. Hello. A joy to have you with us tonight. I play 2 characters in this adventure. I play Kara and Soraya. Now, Kara, at the moment, we're thrust back into her seat at however many G-force there is coursing through her body, wondering what life decisions have put her in this position. Is an artist, a carouser, a hacker. Very delicate though, so we try not to get her into fights too often. And I also play Soraya, who is the Han Solo of the crew. She's a jack of all trades, an engineer, drinker of mimosas, and imprisoned wrongly by who she thought was a long-term friend and ally, who's just left her languishing in the cells while he makes a run for freedom. I don't know if they'll ever get through this. We'll see how it goes. But then he can forget about her when she's in prison for like 10 years on a planet and they've gone somewhere else. But you know, we'll see how it goes. Speaking of that person, that's controlled by this person directly above me. And I feel extra betrayed because he's my brother from another mother. He's the floofiest man in town. He's the housewife's favourite. He is the wonderful Ewan. Good evening, Ewan. How are you?
Hey, Luke. I'm very good, thanks. Very good. I feel somewhat hard done by though. I'm not entirely sure your description of events is completely accurate. But
I think that's how it's written.
Story, I suppose.
Exactly. For those that don't already, consider following him on Twitter. Because if you had today, you'd have seen a picture of him in a very natty suit. looking very, very good indeed. It's
Thanks.
when you starting your own OnlyFans page, that's what I want to know.
I don't know what to say about that. if I'm completely honest, probably never. I don't think anyone really wants that on their feed.
Oh, you sort of you don't realise quite how much I love.
But you never know. You never know.
See, viewers, that's a maybe. Take that as a maybe. Who do you play in this game, Ewan? Speaking of,
That's a very good question.
I don't know what. Moving on swiftly.
I play Agnar Arnson. We'll come to the other one later because Agnar is the one who hasn't betrayed anybody as of yet. I don't think, although Luke may have a different opinion.
He did. He did by saving Bess.
Well, there you go.
Man of betrayal.
He's one of the characters I play who betrayed the party. He is Varga, former military general, come medic, who is currently cheering on Kara in her race and waiting for an appointment with Sharp, one of our more favourite NPCs. I also play Stefan Miller, who definitely made some poor decisions, arguably betrayed somebody, was told to leave and then left, and then get stick about it from Luke. Streetwise human rogue, space rogue, I should say. Who's currently clinging to the side of a cliff. He's not living the life of Riley, as Luke would have you believe. He has been stuck on the side of a cliff, waiting for a lift off the planet.
But he is breathing fresh, free air. Yes.
Well, through some kind of mask, I think, isn't it, Ben? Is he he's kind of at water level, I think.
No, he's only just below the
right?
top of the city. He can breathe completely normally. Quite nice air, probably quite fragrant thanks to being tucked in among bushes.
Ah. Well, in that case, I take it all back. He's a swine.
Stefan! Finally, let's go all the way to the top. He's at the top because he's the smartest. He's the smartest man in any room. He lives his entire life in the Twin Peaks dream sequence. But he does need to trim his nostril hair. He is the magnificent... he is the magnificent, wonderful, fantastic Ben. Good evening, Ben. How are you?
Well, thank you. I'm very well.
Good. I'm glad. Things were good for you, I hope.
Yes, not too bad. Not too bad. Soldiering on. Yeah. Yes. Looking forward to tonight, of course. I always do to travel.
You always do. That's what I like about you. You always appear with a little smile on your face and joy in your heart.
There is something very nice about an evening of role playing with some friends, isn't there? It does put the rest of your life into a bit of context sometimes.
Exactly. And I think we can normally tell when you'll do something mean to one of our characters. There's a slight cheekiness in your eye. So can you lean a bit closer so we can get a close look at your eye, see how cheeky the glint is this evening? We're in for some trouble this evening, I feel, dear viewers. Buckle up. He's got that look on him. Speaking of it, shall we get started, I suppose?
I think we probably should. Okay, so welcome back to the ocean world of Osin, where the centre of the civilized world, Giikur, my apologies,
Giikur.
where the centre of the civilized world sits atop a set of mountains. Their tops removed to provide artificial plateaus. On these peaks is the city of Selville, a modern and well-run society with very little deprivation and crime. Of course, that was before our heroes turned up. In a tactical masterstroke, the 4 senior members of the crew of the Baltic Star have all separated into different parts of the city to follow different routes to success. Stefan, wanted for an attempted murder, of which he's definitely guilty, has been on the run from the authorities. He eventually ended up hiding below the city, wedged into a small crevasse on a mountainside, waiting to be collected by someone called Jural Kags, a local mercenary. Soraya, suspected of a number of possible crimes, is in custody, being held by investigator Locke, a local officer. Soraya is being supported somewhat by an old friend, Olivia Sharp, head of security aboard the Seamstress, a buckyball liner. Agnar is getting heavily involved in supporting the upcoming Pelago race and its preliminary events. He's got access to a very good vantage point for the later stages, but for now has headed down to Limpet Cove, where the teams are preparing, and purchased himself a very impressive programmable portable holo device. He has programmed it with an encouraging message for the ISB team and is mingling with the crowds at the shore. Meanwhile, Kara is attempting to be part of the ISB team for the race. If it works, she should be able to gain access to the mysterious island of Herrenhal, embargoed by the Imperial Navy for reasons unknown, and close to the ideal path for the race. There will be 6 preliminaries in the morning. The first was won by the VCI team, but Kara, along with a few allies, joined the crew for the second preliminary. The sleek racing craft set off with her aboard, and just after the timer hit 0, they accelerated with astonishing force. As the craft turned east to begin the short race distance, it smoothly passed through the sound barrier. And that is where we resume the story. So, yeah, Kara is sitting happily in her seat, I assume, waiting for any kind of instructions.
Yes, because we got told to sit there unless we're told to
That's
press
right.
something or twist something or pluck
Exactly.
something. Yes.
So let me explain basically what Kara's looking at. The center of the ship, the craft, has seats that swivel, so they can be turned around to face in any direction. At the base of each of these seats is a footpad that turns with the seat. So you can rest your feet down on the ground, and if the seat turns, which it does automatically based on simple mass and momentum, if the craft accelerates or slows down, essentially it orients itself so that you're facing the direction of acceleration. The whole seat will turn, and with it the platform on which your feet rest. At the front of the armrests, there are little control panels that allow you to control elements of the systems of the craft. And these seats are in 2 rows, one down each side of the craft. Essentially, there are 6 on each side, the 2 at the front being spaced a little bit further away from the ones behind them. And those are occupied by the people who are steering the craft on any given moment. The space between these 2 rows is given over to a flat, open surface with a kind of rail system built into it. And right at the front of the rail, just behind the pilots, there is a seat facing backwards, which is mounted on these rails. And as you start to move and start to get up to operating speed, the voice of your captain comes out over the internal comms. It's quiet. She probably could just raise her voice, but as it happens, she isn't doing that. She's using an internal system. You're all wearing helmets as part of your uniforms, and you hear Cassie's voice very, very clearly through those, saying, "For anyone who's wondering what that bit in the middle is, that's how you get out."
As Carl take a look to the middle, describe how we get out then. What are we seeing?
Well, broadly speaking, getting out of a craft that could be doing 1,000 kilometers an hour is a problem. Because at 1,000 kilometers an hour, just the wind resistance out the back could strip the flesh from your bones. Now, obviously, you're wearing protective suits, so that's a good start. But even so, we like to give you a fighting chance at survival if you drop off the back. So that chair basically fires you out of the back of the craft at about 250 clicks.
Ah. So I don't want to press this button by mistake then, Skip.
I would definitely avoid getting in the way of that chair or getting on it unless, you really do need to leave.
It's good to know though, just in case. Safety first.
Now, on the way out, I'm just going to ask everybody to keep an eye on the consoles, look at the system, see how we're doing, what we're doing. On the way back, I'm going to ask a couple of you to do at any given time the two main controls that we're not worrying about. Essentially, up front, we steer the craft, and back behind, there are always going to be two people on duty, one setting the altitude above the water and one setting the balance of the wings to keep it nice and level.
Roger, Roger. Right, they both sound like my wheelhouse, to be honest.
All right. We are currently doing that ourselves. It's not as efficient, but so you can actually see the controls working and keep an eye on things. Look at the consoles in front of you. You'll be able to work out exactly the right height to aim for. If at any point the craft's keel comes completely free of the surface, we're disqualified. You are not allowed to fly. This is a watercraft race. So you have to keep the keel in the water. However, every millimeter in the water it is deeper than it needs to be is extra drag we don't want.
Got you. So there's a very narrow, perfect depth. Let's put it that way. Deep. It needs to be in, but not too deep.
Yeah. We typically aim, because you've got to allow for a bit of swell and a bit of change and what have you, to keep as close as you can get to 1 meter's depth at all times.
1 meter depth on the keel. Roger, Skip. Got it.
Okay. Right. As you sort of peer off towards the front, you can see that this craft is moving incredibly quickly, and you can see periodically out of the sides a little hint of another craft nearby. This is a short race, and it's over a short course, and the craft are very close together. This isn't like a strategic one where you're going to be picking different routes that might take you hundreds of kilometers apart from each other. This is very much a point-to-point, round a buoy and back again. So, in essence, the journey out takes only about 4 minutes to the buoy. It is a very short race. And you then begin a turn, at which point you can see absolute focus in the cockpit. The two up front are really, really carefully balancing the depth and the angle of the wings and everything to make what is quite a tight turn. It's not really something this kind of craft is built for, ideally. Tight turning circles are not what it's good at. And they're yelling at each other about keeping the speed up and keeping the keel in the right position and everything like that. On the actual race, you shouldn't have to make many tight turns because everything should be plotted in nice, gentle curves and straights. But you never know. You might have to zip round a few rocks or hidden underwater threats at some point. So it's worth practicing the ability to make a sudden turn when you need to. And as the craft completes its turn and heads back, you hear Cassie's voice call out, "Okay, 2 and 3. You're on depth and wings."
Is either of them me?
No.
Oh, phew.
No.
Phew. It's just as well. Cara was out on her phone messaging the Infinite Monkey Tales, that turned out, and totally missed the turn altogether.
Well, of course, yes. That's just natural, surely.
Just natural. Bit of social media going on. Important times.
as you're going, there are obviously people who are studying the consoles, but some of your compatriots look a little bit nervous about taking over their turn at the controls.
Don't be nervous, team. I'll sing a song and a song to rouse you and make you excited for the journey ahead. We can do it together. We're ISB. We're the best. We're the coolest. We're ISB.
After a couple of seconds, you hear Cassie yell out, "Number 2, watch the depth, watch the depth." And there's sort of a little yelp of panic from the poor guy who's sitting in seat number 2 as he's sort of desperately trying to adjust it. He's like, "It's all happening very quickly. It's a race. That's what happens in a race." And it's just moments before Cassie yells out, "Right, 4 and 5. 4, you're on depth. 5, you're on wings." And you, Kara, are number 4.
Depth. Classic job.
Okay, so what you're looking at is essentially a fairly straightforward, up-down trim control with a screen that allows you to adjust the height compared to the number that's indicated. It, however, also shows the wave conditions in front of the craft. The keel is right at the stern, right hanging out the back effectively. And so you are the craft, as it goes over, is constantly monitoring the waves that it passes over before they reach the keel and giving you some indication of whether or not your depth is safe. It's fairly sensibly color coded. So essentially you want to keep it in the so-called green zone. If you go a little bit too low, it becomes blue, and a little bit too high, it becomes yellow, and eventually red if you're too high and in danger of actually flying completely out of the water. So I will absolutely let you use any skills that you think might be relevant here that Kara has, but essentially you're either playing a video game or just using basic dexterity skills.
Philosophy.
Well. Yes. I like your thinking, Ewan. How can I make it a philosophy check? One must become one with the machine. Man and machine can be the same thing when it comes to is the machine not just an extension of a man's hand?
I'm not sure I can give you a philosophy check in dealing with non-sentient hardware. Sorry.
Let's play it as a video game, please.
Okay.
Which I'm guessing then either what's that, computers or visual media, something like that, is it?
I would think it's probably electronics computing, most of all.
I shall take that. That's a good check for
And
me.
you can have that with Dex.
Thanks, I appreciate Dex. Oh no. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this is a game of reactions, I'm afraid.
Oh no. That's why she first games like Civilization. Oh, good roll though. Nice and warm. 9 + 1 is 10.
Okay. All right. You're focused very much on your task. You're not paying too much attention to what else is happening, but you are able to keep the sort of position neatly inside the green. It may veer a little bit towards the blue, a little bit towards the yellow from time to time, but you can see that it is staying pretty solidly in the middle of the green. It is, as the sort of screen scrolls past, what you see is that the computer is estimating what the conditions are like ahead. So the various bars that are green or blue or yellow, they change in height. So you're kind of steering a snaky curve to aim at the middle of the green all the time. And as you pass round one corner of the island and shoot back towards the finish, there's a significant step in the in the orientation as you move into slightly different cross current, but you react beautifully, and you get the keel just a little bit lower, and you are doing just fine, especially for a beginner. And then it's only seconds later you hear Cassie call out, "Okay, thank you. Hand over now. Controls 2." And she calls out as they're doing it. 6 and 7, 6 on depth, 7 on wings. And though your controls are still there and still theoretically functional, they're no longer doing anything. And somebody else who is sitting next to you is now controlling the thing. And as you sort of glance across, see how they're doing, they are doing okay. Not as well as you did, but okay.
Oh, to be expected. It's not one of our posse, is it?
No, the while you were doing the depth, Freya was having a go at the wings.
Okay.
And she did all right.
Okay.
Again, not quite as well as you, but all right. The other 2 members of your party are actually at the very last station, 11 and 12.
Got you. Got you. Nice.
Okay. So as the craft just powers on as fast as it can, you have a moment to look around, and you can see just to your left and right, you're, as far as you can tell, it's going better this time. You're definitely competing closer to the front of the pack than the previous go. And eventually, step by step, it gets back to the point where Sammy and Kat are taking over. You do notice with a slight smirk that Sammy and Kat actually swap seats after glancing at each other as they see it go down, because apparently Cassie is calling on the wings to be controlled by the person on the starboard side, and Kat was sitting on the port side. So she and Sammy swap over, thinking that she might have a bit more practice with controlling the wings.
Very wise.
They seem to have just sort of nodded to each other and thought, we can do better. Okay, it eventually gets to Sammy. Sammy is a bit clumsy with it. Nothing catastrophic, but she doesn't do the depth anywhere near as well as you did. And Kat, seemingly, it looks like she's done this every day for her whole life. She looks like she's barely even paying attention. But you can, even without looking at the screen, you can detect how incredibly smooth her flying of the wingtips are. And as you are just sort of thinking, well, this is going brilliantly. I wonder if I get another turn or something. There's this loud sound that comes over your radio headset, and the craft begins to slow down. Your seats all swivel to face backwards, to face the rear of the craft, and the brakes are clearly on. The craft begins to lower, goes from being effectively a wing in ground effect craft to being with just a single keel in the water, to being hydrofoil. And then as its pace drops below that, the hydrofoil slowly sinks down until it's resting in the water on its hull. And Cassie calls out, "Third, we got third. Well done."
Yes, team. That's more like it. I told you, didn't I? I told you to be better, guys. I told you. This is good. This is good. Cassie, if I may, how you happy with that run?
That was good. Yeah. Not only a good result for us, a good result for the mix of the field, shall we say. it was a bad result for VCI, and since they won the first one, it's nice if they don't look streaks ahead.
Yeah, good. That's even better. It's even better. Strike 1 point to the good guys.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now it does take, of course, a few minutes for this craft to power its way back in, and then it's met and turned around in the slipway and reversed into the dock. And as soon as it arrives, I mean, even before you can really feel it being properly moored, the hatch is popped off, and Cassie's leaping up and saying, "Right, everybody out over the top. Got to get a new crew in for number 3."
As Kara hoists herself out, waits for the other 3 from the crew to get out, and as sort of we start walking along, she gets the old camera out. Hi, this is Kara Alaska. I'm here. We're just right now out of the ship ISB. We've just finished race 2. I hope some of you guys watched it, and honestly, in that it's intense. The skill of the pilots is incredible. It's something that's well worth really getting behind. Honestly, I couldn't even imagine how good these guys are. We all got a bit of a go. It's really good. Honestly, it's going to be well worth watching for the rest of the day. Imagine doing that for hours. It was stressful even for a couple of minutes. Incredible. We got 3rd, so I've heard. It's a big one for ISB. So keep on cheering for ISB. Keep those follows. Keep those likes. Let's hear more of those cheers next time around. I swear it makes us go a few miles an hour faster. Big one. Team ISB. Kara, keep it up. The kids out.
Excellent. So a brief question for Ewan. Is Agnar still standing there proffering his enormous overhead hollow sign?
He is actually. I was going to just jump in and say, as they were on their way coming back in, when they're going slightly slower, can he change the hollow sign slightly to promote Kara and her social medias? So he'll still keep it in the team colours, but he'll put on a big message: Kara Alaska, number one ISB, and then the equivalent of like a web link or a hashtag or whatever you could find her social medias scrolling across the ISB colours, and he'll start chanting as they go off for Kara and try and G up the crowd a bit. But yes, he's still there.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, given the scale of his banner, it won't be hard to spot as you go in. So Kara will no doubt notice it as well.
Oh. Kat, did you see Agnar was there? Did you see? Yes, he was there.
Yeah. Completely dwarfed by that enormous glowing thing.
I know. When he's asleep, right? Let's draw a big penis on it. That'd be fun. Classic university japes.
I mean, it sounds fine, but aren't we supposed to be like winning friends among this team?
Yeah, well, we don't need to win friends around Agnar. He's a friend anyway. And when a friend's a friend, you can draw penises on their signs, foreheads, whatever's going, really.
Sure. I mean, why not?
Why not? Exactly.
It can only end brilliantly.
Exactly. That's the spirit. You did well, Kat. Your flight. How did it feel in there? It felt natural. Your flight. Your mastership of the wings.
It was nice and easy. I imagine next time they'll ask us to sit the other seats and get the feel of the other bit of control. I'm hoping if we get in, they'll also let me actually take the front seat and steer. But we'll see.
Oh, sorry, I was getting carried away with the guns out. Sorry. Oh. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I think that front seat would suit you. Should we? We could get you a little a little hat, a little pilot's hat to go over your helmet. If you do.
Sure, why
look
not?
very
I'm sure that
jaunty.
won't annoy Cassie at all.
No, exactly. No, I think you're good. You were definitely the best. You were definitely the best on the wings out of everyone, I think. And this is good.
Well, it's important we do well. We want to be picked, right?
Exactly. It's double, isn't it? It gets us picked, and it proves to everyone just how good you are. So it's a double whammy for you, I think. I can see it in your eyes. There's a bit of ego there. That's good though. That's good. Ego keeps your edge.
It's definitely what we need to do. Yeah, we need to win friends and influence people.
We need to get at least 3 of us on. I think at least 3 of us on that. I think that would be good.
As you're even having this conversation, you see pop up the crew roster lists for the upcoming preliminaries, and your little group has been scheduled for preliminary number 5.
Oh, excellent. Prelim 5. Oh, you see, prelim 5. Oh, you know what that means. We got a little while to go and grab a light brunch or something.
Sure. I mean, I don't want to overeat because I get the feeling they really care about how much weight we carry on board.
Cheesy balls are mostly air and cheese.
You're not wrong. I don't think anyone can complain about cheesy balls.
No, exactly. Come on, let's go. I think we've earned it. We've done well. I would say let's catch some air, but there's no air around here. But let's go and stretch our legs, get our land legs back for a short while.
All right. Well, while that's happening, it is time to relocate our attention briefly to Soraya.
Oh, Soraya.
Now, I just need to ask a quick question, I suppose, of Agnar, because Agnar has done had a little conversation with Sharp earlier and passed on a sort of message and got a little bit of an insight. Now, if I remember, basically, you asked Sharp to pass on your good wishes to Soraya and offer any help that you could provide her. Is that right?
No, he's not there. He's vanished.
Oh, he's completely missing.
Oh, he's back.
Fair enough.
He's back. He's right. He's back. He's back.
Sorry.
He's back.
Yes,
Right.
that is correct. That is correct.
Excellent. Then,
oh, phew. Nervous for a minute there.
It is, morning still, of course, and at the critical juncture, just about that time as we're entering the 3rd preliminary race at the Cove, Soraya is lying on a bench bed in a cell in the police station. And the door opens, and in comes Investigator Locke. Morning.
All right.
I trust you slept well.
Nah. Was what it was.
You've got a visitor.
Oh, I do like visitors. My very first one as a prisoner.
I'll leave you to it. And she wanders out, and in comes Olivia Sharp, who walks over and sort of slouches against the wall opposite the bed, and watches as Locke disappears. She sort of glances around quickly at the corners of the room to make sure there aren't any cameras or anything visible. And then she says, "So, you're right."
Not really, no. Maybe I was an innocent summer child in all of this, but I felt that the truth might get me somewhere. But how wrong I was. Locke promised one thing. It's led to another. I shouldn't have been surprised, really.
Okay. Well, the good news is I've been looking through what she's got. I don't think there's much in the way of hard evidence. Lots of supposition and assumption, nothing that they're going to want to put in front of a jury. So I have a strategy.
I like strategies.
I'm going to suggest to her that the way forward here is to give you some slack, that letting you go in exchange for a promise that when Stefan comes to trial, you'll take the stand, should pretty much solve everyone's problem.
Would they do that with Stefan currently not? Well, I'm assuming he's not in custody.
He is not, and they don't want to do something like that. Of course, they would never want to do something like that. But as I say, they're really struggling to find any evidence that would really pin you down. So I think they would take a sure thing on a warrant to appear in front of a judge in exchange for your release, rather than the off chance that they can get you on a independent crime.
I feel that in the hierarchy of crimes, what I did right is much of a lesser thing than they would want to pin on Stefan, right?
Yeah.
So I'm more useful to them as a tool to get something pinned on Stefan than just me doing whatever time for a grenade-based misdemeanor.
The big problems they've got, I mean, they're not the only ones, but basically they haven't got any reason to be able to demonstrate that you were involved in the poisoning.
That's because I wasn't.
You were around there at the time, but there's a lot of footage of the area and there's nothing that indicates you might have been involved.
That's what I tried to tell her.
The arguable distraction that you caused to try to help Stefan escape, well, that's a fair point. They can probably prove that you detonated the smoke bomb. They can probably prove that you were there at the time and you were an ally. But again, it's small cheese. Then you've got arguably the biggest problem, which is before the actual attack on Fess, you were the person who was implicated in potentially a conspiracy against him. But again, the problem is that conspiracy, if all they've got is you showing a picture, that could be interpreted all sorts of different ways.
Yeah, hopefully the correct way as opposed to what they're trying to twist it as, you would hope. I guess they can't prove that what I say is wrong. There's no proof to it, right? Just twist it as part of a story.
Ultimately, it's stories that get convictions. They want to spin a tale which will secure a conviction. They would like for you to appear in court potentially as a witness for the prosecution, to tell the truth and give your story. The problem is, in order to get that done, they're probably going to have to drop any sense of a conspiracy, because if they're still accusing you of a conspiracy, then that's self-incrimination if you give them a version of events they're going to like.
Yeah.
So they forget the conspiracy, decide you were just basically a witness who also knew both of the key participants, and call upon you to the stand if they think your testimony will help. Now, it comes with a risk. It could mean that the defense could be able to call on you. You know, you'll now be a named participant in the case on the witness list. The defense could call you. Nothing's perfect in the world after all. And once you get before a jury, anything can happen.
As part of this, do you think they would request that I stayed on world?
I would say they would certainly expect you to stay on world if they have Stefan in custody and can therefore assure everyone that a trial will take place. If Stefan doesn't come into custody, then they won't realistically be able to argue that you should stick around indefinitely in the hope that they find him. But of course, there's issuing an instruction for someone to stay on world, and there's someone actually staying on world.
And it is a very big universe, and when a jump takes place, it's borderline impossible to go chasing after someone easily.
I mean, it's certainly possible to put out names and details to get someone chased, but let's be frank about this. There are enough places in the galaxy where murders and mass murders and horrible things are happening, and those names get added to lists. But jumping planet, breaching an order to appear as a witness in a non-fatal crime, I think is going to be a long way down that priority.
This is good. Thank you, Sharp. This is much more positive than I was feeling when I woke up this morning, with a very full bladder and a little small pot in the corner to empty myself in, and bad fruit juice from the night before still gurgling around my gullet. This is good stuff. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you for your work.
That's all right. Well, then there's just really one thing I need from you.
Whoa. What is it?
I need you to tell me right now that you will absolutely promise to abide by the terms of any judicial order handed to you by the police.
I do solemnly swear that I will do that thing that you told me to do a minute
Brilliant.
ago.
We're sorted. Okay, thanks. And she wanders out. You see another officer wander up and close the door and lock it, but there is no there doesn't seem to be any particular urgency. It's more like just closing a door. There's no slamming of it or anything. It is minutes later when Locke walks back in and offers you a tablet for your signature. Here are the terms. As I understand it, Officer Sharp's explained to you exactly what's going on.
I certainly hope she has. If you'll excuse me, I've got bad experiences of signing things without reading, so please let me sit and read for the next 15-20 minutes or whatever to make sure I'm very clear.
Of course. Sign it when you're ready. And then knock on the door and someone will let you out and come to me.
Nice.
And she leaves and closes and locks the door. You want to examine it?
Yes, please.
Okay. I need you to make a skill roll.
Oh, no.
Advocate with education, please.
See, advocate was something I meant to make someone go through advocate, but I don't think I ever did. But luckily, I'm jack of all trades. She's got herself in many scrapes in back planets over the years, so she's used to. She can at least scan over such things, even if she's not brilliant at it. So that's a -1 plus. What was the other one? Do you say?
Education.
That's a 0. Okay. It is, John. It is good diplomacy. That is an embarrassingly good roll. Sorry. 11 -1 is 10.
A 10. Okay. The document seems not to be quite pro forma. You are, as you glance through it, you're looking at it, and it seems to be reasonably well spec'd, reasonably competent, and it is easily covering exactly what was said. There are bits that seem impenetrable to you, but that's not because they're written poorly. It's because they refer to things that you don't have any personal knowledge of.
Okay.
You know, it identifies, whenever it gives a description of something, it identifies the relevant legal code in Giikur's legal system. You haven't studied Giikur's legal system, so you don't know what those are. But the terms of them, description of them, is pretty self-explanatory. So it'll say something like, you know, the terms of the appearance will be conducted under Giikur's standard rules for court protocol, and it then refers to something called, you know, Legal System of Giikur Volume 3 kind of thing, you know. So even though you're not familiar with that book, it does kind of make sense.
No, I've never read that one. That was the fattest one. I started with the thinner books. You always leave the big ones to the end.
The only multi-volume things I ever read are wine lists. So as you get to the bottom, it does look very much like it's what you were promised. It's a get out of jail free card with the understanding that if they can secure Stefan, then you have to make yourself available to appear as a witness if they request it at trial.
Okay. Seems reasonable. Seems good to me. I shall sign it. I shall put the old John Hancock upon it.
Okay. Signing it is not something you need to make a roll for.
You'd be surprised. She's used many different signatures over the years.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, Stefan might have to, because he'd have to remember which of his false identities he was signing.
Exactly right.
Okay, it is signed. Are you going to knock on the door and call for the guard?
Yeah. God.
Okay. The door opens and somebody holds out their hand for the tablet. And if you hand it over, they will then lead you to Locke's office.
Okay. I signed it. Look, I signed it.
She's handed it by the guard, who leaves immediately. Locke glances down just to assure herself that it was indeed signed. She folds it away and puts it behind her. Says, right. This isn't quite what I was hoping for, because, truthfully, I think you've been up to stuff. But it's become clear that I'm not going to be able to prove that. There is something in particular I would like to ask you, however.
I am your servant, your humble servant. Ask away.
This is... I'm hoping that now you've signed this, you might be willing to speak honestly about this as kind of a witness statement, without fear that it would be in any way used against you or pointed to as a motive.
You do have previous luck, it must be said.
Which is why I waited until you were released. I am deeply concerned about the team being poisoned. That really worries me. I've spent a lot of time reviewing video, and if I were looking at that video knowing nothing about any of the participants and just saying who potentially has the means, has the opportunity to poison that team, my candidate would have been Fess.
That's because you're an intelligent officer of the law and a good investigator.
My concerns about this exist in a number of categories. The first is that though he's now awake, he is a victim of crime, and we're trying to get justice for him in that incident. There is, however, nobody else who appears on tape who has the realistic chance to have poisoned the team. It doesn't mean he did it, but we can't see anyone else having the opportunity. So, can you think of a reason why someone like Fess might be interested in poisoning a team? Large numbers of them?
So this team that he poisoned, they were the Maglo team, weren't they? They were Maglo.
Yes.
They were defending champs, weren't they?
Yep.
And he had signed up to race with
VCI.
VCI, wasn't he? And he was like their big weapon, as it were. And if I remember correctly, VCI came last time, and Maglo came first. He is a man, from my experience of him, he is a man who sees himself as a winner. I'm guessing he was paid quite a lot by the team to work for them, either as a consultant or a teammate or whatever he was. It could just be the classic poison the team to damage their chances if he thought they were the number one team, the number one possibility. It seems like a very basic bitch thing to do, though. He's a man that always feels like he's got like 2 or 3 plans going on. You know, he has 2 or 3 different identities that we know of. I don't know. He was very arrogant that evening. He seemed very, from what I could tell, he seemed very sure of himself. I don't know if that's because he realised that he could pin it on someone. Has there been any? Is there betting for the races, officer?
There is a great deal of betting.
Had there been? Had you looked at betting patterns? Had there been any changes in betting patterns in the day or two leading up?
I mean, we have looked at them. My experts tell me they don't look unusual.
Okay. Are there parts of he's a man. Fess is kind of known around here, isn't he? He's known for rocks. He's known for fish. He's known for the waters. Are there routes that potentially that crew would go to that he wouldn't want people going to? You know, would it have affected a good fishing haul, a good rocky outcrop, or anything like that?
It's certainly true that fishing boats are typically kept well clear of any realistic race path because, well, as you're aware, a pelago craft travels at 1,000 kilometers an hour flat out and more. They can't always avoid things that turn up in their way.
I'm just trying to think back to what he said. It wasn't me that really spoke to him too much that night. I sort of had a bit of a falling out with Stefan, so I was. It said something stupid about the jumpsuit I was wearing. I took it personally, you know, as you would. So I was mostly drinking away, so I didn't really see Fess. But if he is up to something, there's normally 2 or 3 layers in my experience. Have you got his phone? Because he made a call just before to someone, and apparently he said something about getting something done or seeing to it. I was worried that he was going to go back to the hotel and do something to our rooms, to our crew there. But it's possible that was linked to it. Have you tried to? I know you can't tell me, of course, but I would suggest trying to go through that, seeing who his last called and stuff was. That might give you an idea.
Can you roll a persuade for me, please?
I can try.
With intellect.
Okay. That's a 7, but it's +2. It's a 9.
Ooh.
I know.
Okay. Locke thinks for a moment and she says, okay, I think I've just really got one more question then.
Yeah. Just one more thing. The whisper.
One
Hang
more
on. Hang on, let me put the one more thing in, John. It's just one
columnar.
Where is
I couldn't help it.
just one more thing.
Just one more thing.
Just one more thing.
Is there, we have from members of the Maglo team that Stefan offered to buy them a round of drinks.
That's
And later,
Hmm.
a round of drinks arrived.
Hmm.
We've been working loosely on the assumption that those two events are connected.
Okay.
But here is my question. Is it possible that Fess could have either overheard that Stefan had ordered a round of drinks or had said he was going to order a round of drinks, or overheard him discussing that with somebody else?
Yeah. I was up top when this happened, right? I was you know, you must know the Cascade quite well. It's got the big waterfall out the top, and it had frozen by that point. I'm sure the cameras will show all that. And I was up the top. I was sort of watching over. I've not been up the top before, and I was watching over, and I saw some things happen below. I wasn't privy to noise. I saw that Kara had been chatting with Fess awkwardly. I saw that Stefan was. That's why I shouted out, when I thought that he had nicked something, stolen something, which I mentioned before. Stefan had spilt his beer over them. Like, he spilt beer over them as he walked past. Sort of, it looked accidental to me. And Stefan is not. He doesn't spend his money quickly. Let's put it that way. He's quite tight. But if he thinks he's wronged someone or caused a problem, spilt someone's drink or anything, he will buy a round. And I think he did make a big thing about saying that he would buy a round to apologise. And I heard it up where I was. So I think for certain Fess would have heard it because he was half as close as me. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So Fess knew there was drinks coming. He would have. He had to. He would have known. And Stefan didn't even. He just asked for the order. He didn't spend time. He didn't bring the drinks over, from what I can tell. He had no. Stefan didn't even touch the drinks. I don't know if your cameras are out there, but he just put the order in.
We have limited coverage. So you think it's plausible that Fess knew the drinks were coming when he approached the Maglo table?
Yeah, I think so. Like I say, I heard Stefan calling for an apology round because he drenched this poor guy. And I heard that, and I was further away. Fess definitely heard it.
Okay. Well, as promised, you're free to go. And thank you for your help.
No, thank you for my terrible fruit juice last night.
We have an ongoing investigation, still a missing person. I hope I can trust you to contact me if you find out what happened to Stefan.
It's important to me that the truth of Fess's evil ways is discovered, and if that involves making sure that about Stefan and I find out about it, I will be in touch.
Okay. She nods and proffers a hand.
I'll take it in an overly dainty way.
Okay.
Ew.
As she does, there's a little bleep from her communicator, and she answers it. Says, "Lock." Oh. No. All right. You think you know where he might be? I mean, roughly. All right. Yeah, everyone. I'll come and join you myself. But if we think we know where he's going to be, we surround it and get it done. And she looks up, thinks for a moment. She says, "That wasn't Stefan we were talking about."
Who is it? This sounds very exciting.
Another friend of yours.
Oh. Oh. That's good. That's good news then. Wonderful. Okay. Well, I hope you find what you need to find. If you don't mind, I'm going to go and get a shower. I'm feeling quite stinky. I want a little lie down in a comfy bed. You really need to upgrade your beds.
I'll put it on the list right after the other 300 things I care about.
Good. Fair enough. Well, take care. Love you. Bye.
Cheers. You step outside the office, and Sharp is out in the corridor.
Hey.
Hey, you right?
Yeah. Let's get out of this place. The walls have ears in these sort of places.
It's true. And the two of you walk out together and out onto the street.
I appreciate that you've come through for us here. Everyone has their own reasons for everything, but it's appreciated that you've got me out. I was worried I was going to be in there for quite some time.
It's all right. Truthfully, I don't think they had anything on you. I just greased the wheels a bit to make it go a bit faster. Sometimes you can end up spending a couple of days, couple of weeks rotting in a hole while they realise they haven't got anything on you.
Oh, can I use your device, please? I don't trust mine at the minute.
Certainly can.
Cool. So I would like to call Agnar, please.
Okay.
Hello.
Hey, guess who?
Ah, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. It's nice to be out. I am out. I'm on Sharp's device. I'm sure you saw the number. You were very excited, but it is me, your old friend, your buddy pal. Out and about, free as a daisy.
Sorry, let me just step away. The crowd here is a little bit. Can you hear them? They're all cheering for Kara.
There's a lot of ISB chants. I'm going to have to catch up on that.
You're out, you say? That's good news.
It is good news. It's good news. The food in there was terrible, terrible. I really miss one of Grey Hill's dishes. You know.
Oh, don't we all?
Do you remember how he used to make it? It was very sort of rustic fare. He used local meat, but you couldn't slaughter it with a blade. You had to kick the goat in order to prepare it for the dish.
Well, of course I remember. That's how we coined the term. Whenever someone's cooking for the group, they go and kick the goat.
Kick the goat, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, they could do with some more goat kicking in there because the food was poor. Anyway, That was an aside. Just as I was leaving, I don't trust my phone. That's why I'm on this one, because they've had my phone, and they could be bugging it or anything. I need to wait till I can get back to car or have it proper checked. But as I was leaving, Locke got a phone call. Now, I don't know if she legitimately got it, or I don't know if it was like fake for my, to trigger me into calling someone. The old, oh, they're after you kind of thing, as if they think I know where people are. I have no idea. I've been in there. But they said they're closing in on a friend of ours. And then she was quick to say it wasn't Stefan. To me, not that I know where he is. But I wondered if that might mean something to you, That's not necessarily something for this call, I don't know. But if we've got a friend of ours that you can think of who security might want to be closing in on, it might be worth you seeing if you can let them know that security want them and they should do what their morals decides they should do.
Please don't take this the wrong way, but you're okay. This is coming across mildly paranoid.
I've just spent a night in a cell with a security officer who I still can't fully trust, who fed me bad fruit juice, didn't give me the cheesy balls I asked for, a small bucket to wee in, and there was someone singing old Wagner opera in the cell next to me all night long. And
sounds like a heavenly night, apart from the food issue.
It's maybe for you, but not for me. So if you can understand why I'm a little bit frazzled and untrusting of anyone at the minute, I just I've been burnt once by telling the truth. I don't want to be burnt twice. She does seem like she's chasing after Fess a bit, which is good. She's finally realizing that he could be behind it, but I'm just nervous about stuff, man. I just want to get back to the hotel, have a shower, wrap myself in a soft sheet for a few hours,
So you think this line's all right to talk on, though, right? It's Sharp's phone. Did you ever hear anything else? Anything more to go on who they're closing in on?
Just said a friend of ours. Just said send everyone. Send everyone. And then she said it's not Stefan.
You don't think it could be he sort of looks around. Look, you don't think it could be Zoe?
She's the only one that's missing at the minute, isn't she? And Sharp knows that anyway, so that's too bad to talk to. She's the only one of ours that we don't know where she is, isn't she? So, and they'll want to talk to her. She's a person of interest. They know she knows. They know she knows Fess. See if you can track her down.
Yeah.
I'm guessing she's been not answering anything, but you never know. At least a warning.
Yeah, sure. I'll just send a discreet. I'll come up with something.
Cool. You always do, Agnar. That's why you're the daddy of the group.
I'm not going to send her a fruit basket, but thanks.
That's all right, man. It's a pleasure to hear your voice again and breathe this sweet air. I'm heading back to the coronet. I might join. Well, I know you've got a thing with Sharp this afternoon. Even I know that, but I'll catch up with you when you're done for the day. I guess I'm just going to try and, luxuriate. I said that in a really dirty way. That's because phlegm went into my throat. Luxuriate.
Yes. You were singing along with that Wagner opera, weren't you? I can tell by your husky voice that you've been singing Wagner opera all night.
How do you get to those notes? That's so low, and yet also some surprisingly high notes as well.
But still with depth to them, that's the beauty of Wagner opera. Wow. I feel that anyway. Wow. Enjoy your rest. Take it easy. Don't be out of action for too long.
No, I won't do. I just need 4 or 5 hours of a kip if I can, and then I'll be up raring to go again. You take care, man. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, speak soon.
Yep. And then she hangs up and hangs the phone back to Sharp. Thank you.
No problem.
I'm going to go to the Coronet to have a shower and order room service and have a little snooze. Is that okay with you, Sharpie?
I don't feel qualified to judge the quality of their room service. But other than that, it all sounds sensible.
Good.
If you're doing nothing, feel free to do what you want to do. But if you did nothing, I'll order it on Agnar's card anyway. So feel free to join me for a brunch before I take my shower. Unless you've got if you've got a bit of time before you need to meet Agnar.
It's not that long now. Got to head over top end of the island to meet up with him and then pick up our ride.
Okay. Well, let's make it quick, and then let's grab a bite to eat, fill you with energy. Then I'll go up and have a wash and a sleep, and you can go and spend your afternoon with our fuzzy friend.
All right. Sounds good.
Excellent. So that'll be the plan. So I'll head back to the Coronet and order some brunch. That's the plan, and sort of with Sharp as much or a little as detail as you want to go through. Grab a shower and go to bed for a little bit.
All right. Well, I think that's actually a good time to take our break.
Wonderful.
Perfect.
Excellent. Right, everyone, we're going to take 5 minutes, I think, for a middle-aged man toilet break, a breath of air.
5 minutes or near offer.
Near offer. And
Yeah.
So hang around. We'll have a toast for the second half, our classic toast. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a few. Let me find the break bit, and then you can go. Let's take that off. That's the music. That should be the break. And Hello, dear viewer. It's I back again with one of our little, our quiet little break chats. I hope you're well, and if you're still listening, you've had a lovely week. Quite frankly, it was a very me heavy first half, and I hope that's okay for people. I'm hoping that we get some more Agnar for the second half. I'm a big fan of Agnar. The floof is very alluring, of course. But as always, it's just nice to be role playing on a Friday night. We all have long weeks, don't we? We all have busy weeks, and it's nice to sit down with a mug of wine. I would have a glass, but you've got to advertise the brand, don't you? Nice mug of red wine and role play for a bit. And it's lovely that you guys have joined us this evening. It's always a pleasure to have you. Whether you're listening, you're lurking, whatever you're doing, it's a pleasure to have you with us, and we hope you've enjoyed it so far. Those of you that are jumping in for the first time or the first time in a while might be confused at what you've found yourself in. It's part Ally McBeal and part Speed Racer and part the Goonies or something like that. But you know, but it is what it is. We're proud of it. We're happy with it. We do it for us, and we hope that you guys enjoy it as well. We're not. If it's your first time, we're not a very combat heavy stream. But we like it that way. We come up with different solutions. We just like spending time doing our things, don't we, Ben? We have our own speed and our own approach.
Certainly, we play the way we play, not the way other people do necessarily. It is very high on snowball fights. You're right, Ewan.
I think, relatively speaking,
yeah,
a high concentration of snowball fights.
Certainly, I think we probably have the highest ratio of snowball fights to actual violence of any streamed role-playing game. Yes,
I reckon we probably have more snowball fights in this stream than any other traveller adventure has in the entirety of Twitch. I'm going out on a limb.
Probably. Yeah. I think that's probably true. Yeah.
Of every Friday night traveller stream presented by 3 Kentish people. Yeah. I think that's specific enough to not sell us out.
That's good. We don't want to be
not give false information to people.
We don't want to be hit with one of our 3 Twitch strikes for falseness, do we?
Yeah, precisely.
Exactly. Are we all back now?
Yes.
You said that with a lot of excitement.
I really wanted to say no, but
yes,
clearly we are.
I'm going to need to put Fess up on a screen now, aren't I? Bear with me. Things have all changed now graphically. Talk amongst yourselves.
Wait, you're going to put Fess up?
Not Fess up. Oh no, why am I putting Fess up?
Don't put Fess up.
I could put Fess up. Fess up.
Fess up. Oh, Fess up would be a good points redemption for confessing something.
Oh yeah. What would people have to do? One of us would have to confess something.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've got that many things to confess, to be fair.
And I have way too many. I couldn't even begin to pick.
Ben's would all be along the lines of I have nothing to declare except my brilliance. But only confessions.
Full Oscar Wilde, is he?
Yeah, I think so. I'd like to think so anyway. I might be completely wrong on that one.
Oh. It's not letting me drop my files in, so we might leave it for today. We'll just we'll pretend that Greyhill's there. I'll sort it out for next week. Are we good to go?
Fair enough. Yep.
Yeah.
Hello everyone, we're back. Let me hand over to Ben, the wise old owl of the group.
Oh, well, thank you. It's time to raise our glasses to a long-lost friend. If you recall, Greyhill Bast had found a place for himself as steward aboard the transport ship Cherry Falls, owned by the shipping magnate Carvel Bilt. Bilt was very impressed with his employee, and for a while he took him with him from ship to ship as his personal steward. This dramatically increased the number of worlds that Greyhill visited, of course, The Cherry Falls tended to do the same few routes over and over again. But now, as a personal steward, Greyhill went from ship to ship and often travelled on Bilt's private yacht, the Annabelle. Now, Greyhill remembered that part of his life was about this activity, and he remembered it very fondly. Having the opportunity to visit so many worlds was a treat for him. And most of these worlds were important commercial areas, naturally, as that's where the business of transport was likely to find its most successful home. And many of these worlds were democracies, but it became clear to Greyhill that not all democracies were equal. He travelled to direct democracies, essentially worlds run by badly worded and easily corrupted polls on social media. He travelled to representative democracies, where the populace was invited to participate only every few years, in a system where they often had to pick between two options, both of which were terrible. He visited democracies where everyone was forced to vote, and democracies where people were actively discouraged from doing so by the imposition of onerous requirements before voting could be exercised. In some places, the requirements to cast a vote were so arranged as to make it easier for the wealthy, the privileged, and the able-bodied to participate in democracy, skewing the outcome of an election to support one philosophical position. On one occasion, I remember him telling me of a single place in all his travels that had got it right, ensuring fair and accessible democracy for all. It was something that was important to him, and every time he mentioned it, he raised a glass to the place. As we raise a glass to Greyhill's passion for free and fair elections, here's to the late, great Greyhill Bast.
To the late, great Greyhill Bass.
To the great Greyhill Bast.
And free democracy, Ben.
Indeed. And obviously that's apropos nothing at all and is unrelated to anything in the real world.
Nice disclaimer. Won't hold up in court, but nice disclaimer.
There goes another of our Twitch ticks.
Okay, so as Soraya heads off to grab a bite to eat and a shower and what have you, we turn our attention to Agnar, who we last left mingling with the crowd, but having just pulled away to a bit of a quieter bit back from the cove, and ready to have a little bit more of the morning, possibly see the remaining few preliminaries, or get on with whatever else he wants to do. So, Agnar, you're standing a little bit further back, away from the actual big slipway hangers themselves, back where basically the back of the cove becomes the slope leading up to the mountains and the city. And the first thing I need you to do is roll a survival check for me, please.
Oh, no, Ben. You're going to throw a roll at me straight away. I haven't even said anything yet.
Survival as well.
Survival
Plus intellect, please.
It's because he's reached that age. He could just have a heart attack.
As you are a military man, I will happily give you education if you prefer it over intellect. But I'm also happy to give you recon instead of survival, if you prefer that.
Obviously, I'm not entirely sure what we're talking about. How about military tactics, Ben? Positioning of anything, formations of anything. I'm pushing it.
You know what? Yes, military tactics you can have in this case.
With education.
With education, if you like. Yep.
Wonderful. It's very kind of you. Oh, I almost feel bad now because that's an 11 on the dice. Plus 5.
Okay.
16.
A total of 16. Right. Yeah, you only seem to get two kinds of rolls. They're sort of 14 or -2.
Yeah. Classic Agnar.
His bell curve is that he's just like dropped off.
That's what happens when you don't have jack of all trades. You can't, you don't get those middle.
Ewan has never heard of a bell curve. He doesn't believe in. So, as you are standing there, sort of looking around and standing effectively just off the back of the sort of built-up area of the cove where the nicely leveled, flat platforms filled with people are. Just where it sort of becomes a bit rougher and then heads up into the hills, you notice a sort of intermittently flickering light catch the corner of your eye, like a reflection, a couple of 100 meters up the slope. It looks like reflection off a piece of glass or something.
Okay. I don't think. See, this is where I don't buy useful equipment like Luke does. I don't think he's got anything that would help trying to make out any more detail. He'll make a note of it and its location. He'll find something nearby that he can refer to should he look away, and then look back and try to gauge the spot again.
Okay.
But I think more at the forefront of his mind at the minute is after the phone call with Soraya. He'll get onto the group chat, the crew general chat, and put out a message and just say he'll be very frank. He'll put everyone okay. We need a message to the fuel to check in, and he'll send it off.
Okay. It'll take a little while for different people to contact you back.
Sure.
I suppose the obvious question is, I'm assuming Stefan is not going to respond?
No, he won't. In fact, I think he did he put his actual personal communicator away or turned it off, and I think he was using the one that
he was just using the burner.
Soraya had picked up. Yeah. So yes, he won't respond.
Okay. All of the NPCs will, one after another, check in. It's up to you guys whether your PCs do, of course. You would almost certainly, because of the timing, you'd catch Soraya before she goes up to bed or anything.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Soraya won't reply though because she's well nervous about her phone. But
okay.
But Agnar, she would assume that Agnar knows because he's just spoken to her. So
fine.
She won't respond.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of the reason that he was doing it, is based off their conversation, and he would assume that she's seen the check-ins at least. I mean, it's not 100% proof, obviously, that everyone's all right, but it does a job at least. Does
Kara check in?
Yeah, Kara will be like, "Hey, I'm here. Did you see? That was us. That was us then. Third place, baby."
Okay, so of the group that you're sending out to, the whole crew, everyone responds except for Stefan, Soraya, and Zoe.
Agnar will take a minute, and he'll think over to himself. Ben, out of character, how likely is Agnar to, going off of the conversation he had with Soraya and her not using her own phone, would he be widely aware of technology in the universe to track someone's phone when you haven't had it? But obviously Soraya was worried that her phone was taken away from her.
Generally speaking, the communications that exist, tracking them is extremely hard. They are designed to provide privacy. Now, if, as Soraya correctly assesses, you have had access to someone's device and you could put like a listening device in it, or special software hidden on it, you might be able to get access to all sorts of things. But without that, it would be extremely hard. Not technically impossible, but you'd be probably trying to catch hundreds of thousands of individual bits of information, stitch them together, and then decrypt them. It would be a monstrous task.
Okay. If he's fully aware of that, he'll give it a couple of minutes, I suppose, after the last person. Fully expecting Soraya and Stefan to not check in, and then he'll call Zoe.
Okay. There's no pickup, but literally while you are listening to it ringing, you get another one of those flickers of light from the slope behind you.
How far off?
A couple 100 meters.
He'll stop the call and he'll pick up the phone and he'll call. I suppose the first person in his mind to call would be Johnny.
Okay. All right. Yep. Johnny answers. Hello.
Hi, John. You all right? Have you I don't suppose you know the whereabouts of Zoe?
Sorry.
Are you up to anything at the minute?
Nothing important.
We're just slightly concerned is the wrong word. I think we've information that we'd just like to know where she is. Just make sure she's all right. Any I suppose it's a long shot. Any chance you could see if you could find her? Check the rooms, maybe? Are you at the coronet?
I'm at the coronet. I can certainly knock on some doors.
That would be perfect, if you wouldn't mind.
No problem at all.
Just
I'll call you back in a few.
Yeah, perfect. And Agnar will hang up and he'll a couple of 100 meters. My judgment of distance is terrible, Ben. How much are we talking about for him to get a decent, at least make out some kind of what that glistening is?
It's hard to know. If you were walking straight towards it, I suppose you might. If you got even halfway, you might have a chance of seeing what it was. But it depends how big it is. I mean,
Sure.
A relatively small piece of reflected material can produce a quite impressive amount of reflected sunlight, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, if it seems out of context to the rest of the scenery in which it's coming from, if he can wander towards it, there's not a lake in between.
No, just sort of rough ground.
He'll have a quick check of the clock and see what the time is, because he knows he's got a noon appointment around here, isn't it? It's around this area. Is that where they're
it's
meeting?
back up top in the city, so you'll have to get to that shuttle port on the cove, and then head back up to the northern shore of the northern edge of the city, where the shuttle departed from. But that's only a few minutes flight.
Yeah, cool. Is the shuttle port the opposite direction or the same direction as the glistening?
Essentially, the shuttle port is around the shape of the cove, so it's sort of a crescent walk. And if you were walking that direction, you'd be walking with the water on your left, the mountains on your right. The reflective bit is on your right up the hill there, but it's sort of some way around the cove. It's not exactly behind where you are. It's about halfway around the curve.
Okay, so he'll start heading around the cove, I suppose, and he'll
Okay.
try and act nonchalant and taking in all the teams, and he'll keep the banner on about Kara and the ISB colours
Okay. Sure.
for the time being.
Yep. Well, you're going to come roughly level with that reflective thing, roughly level with where it would be against the curve, roughly in the middle of the team area, somewhere around Impact Systems, VCI. It'll be behind them, basically.
Okay. And then I suppose, is it traversable?
The
The way
ground,
up?
yeah. There's no specific path, but it's relatively easy, rough terrain. It's no different to walking across the surface of an undeveloped world. When you were walking around on De La Brue, think of it like that. Just dirt, only here there's bushes and scrub as well.
Okay. He'll make his way up the mountainside. Excuse me, and he'll move past a few people. Just trying to get a better vantage point for the banner.
Sure. People glance up. Some of them scowl a bit at it because it's not their team. Others grin or don't seem to care much which team you're supporting. You know, it's a mixed crowd. A lot of people do have their favorite team. Plenty of people just like the fact there's a big race going on, and they don't really have much loyalty to any particular team. The black and silver and yellow and black colors of Impact and Von Cotswold are more prominent in this part of the bay, but there are plenty of people wandering back and forth wearing all sorts of different colors, and you don't stand out particularly, other than the fact you have this enormous hollow above your head, which does make you stand out quite a bit. You start to wander off the beaten track. It isn't very far before you pass some remains of where people have clearly done similar things. They've walked away from the busy part of the cove in order to do things like have a picnic on the slope, or have a rest, just sleep a bit down there. But as you set off closer and closer to that little reflective thing, it doesn't appear to be flickering at you anymore at all. There's no sign of it flickering, but you do know roughly where it was. And as you make your way up, you get sort of about 100 meters. Can you roll for me a recon check, please? With I think we'll go with intellect for this one.
Yeah. That's a 6 plus 1. It's a 7.
Okay. About 100 meters out, you still have a pretty good idea of where it came from, roughly, but there's no sign of anything. Are you going to keep going?
Yeah, he'll keep heading up. He's still got the big banner on. He's not trying to be sneaky about it. I don't suppose there was any. He didn't see any movement. It was just a still flicker.
Just a flicker of reflected light. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. In which case he'll.
Okay.
He's got no immediate plans. He'll wander off and see what he can. See what it is.
All right. The further up you go, the less and less evidence there is of people being here. Fewer leftover footprints and what have you. That most people would have given up and put their picnic blanket long before they get this far away from the cove. And as you make your way up, inevitably the ground gets just a little bit rockier, a bit more broken, and the scrub gets a little bit thicker. But going still fairly easy. We're a big lad like Agnar. It's no trouble at all.
A big strong lad.
Yeah, growing boy. You get to sort of within about 25 meters or so, and of where it was, and you're sort of looking around, not exactly certain where it came from, and you see a flicker of movement ahead of you, sort of just behind a bush, of an arm just coming out the side and waving a couple of times to you, and then pointing down at the ground.
Sort of cocks his head a little bit, turns quizzically and turns off the backpack, as this seems to be some kind of not the most overt of things. Certainly not something that you want a big ISB banner and Car Alaska social media links projected up in the air halfway up the mountainside. Or certainly the other person doesn't want that. Cara might, Agnar might.
Yeah,
it could be worse. You could have changed the slogans to, I'm acting suspiciously and doing crime.
That's Cara's the tagline. So it's quite possible he did have it.
That's her blurb in her social medias.
Exactly.
Okay.
He'll somewhat unsure, I suppose. He'll get low and he'll creep forward.
The closer you get to it, the more obvious it is that there is a single person crouched behind the bush, sitting comfortably enough that she could have been sitting there for a long time without needing to move. And as you get close enough, it's pretty obvious that the person in question is Zoe.
He'll sit down with his back to the bush, a little bit away, and start rifling through his pockets for some like dried food, and he'll chuck a couple of stale cheesy balls that were left over from some brunch probably weeks ago into his mouth. No. He'll say, and as he's chewing, he'll just say, "Everything okay?" Looking straight forward over the lake.
Yeah, it's all good. Hope I'm not missing anything important.
It's hard to say, to be fair. Certainly not from my end. Carver's doing quite well for ISB. They've got some tryouts.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that is good. The theory being that maybe she can crack open this whole secret island thing.
Yeah, and he'll chuck another cheesy ball in and cover his snout as he says, yeah, heaven how, yeah. Why the if you don't mind me asking, why the secrecy?
Don't mind you asking at all. Okay? Okay, so funny story. I found myself sort of lurking around places and hiding in corners where nobody was really looking for me anyway. And then it occurred to me that in all the chaos, there was probably only one place on all of Giikur that us lot would be really advised to stay away from. That they'd be watching for us, And that was the hospital where they're keeping Fess. So I thought, if I'm off their radar anyway, I might as well just keep an eye on that. Since, they don't know where I am and they might be following anyone else. So I figured I'll check that out, see if I can see anything interesting. And I didn't. Nothing interesting at all. Absolutely not at all. Until about 2 hours ago. And suddenly it was very interesting. And I was thinking I should probably tell everyone. And then I realized I didn't know how to do that if people were like being monitored or imprisoned or under house arrest and surrounded by police officers. I didn't know how to let anyone know what was going on without potentially giving it away.
Remind me to come back to that point later. But yes, go on.
So I came here and I looked around, and then I saw one of my crewmates with an absolutely enormous banner hanging over him saying, look at me, look at me. And I thought, I can catch his attention. And I did. So, yeah, the interesting thing that happened just a couple of hours ago is there was a bit of a commotion at the hospital. People started running about and finding out what was going on, and I meandered up and down looking as innocent as I could until I caught a little snatch of a conversation, and it turns out they've lost him.
Oh.
They've lost
Fess.
Oh.
I hope I lost him in bed.
He woke up and they were treating him, and he was on the road to recovery, and then he wasn't there.
Well, that makes a lot of sense given the information I have, I suppose. Soraya, I don't know if you know, then he's still looking forward out over the lake, throwing cheese balls in his mouth. Soraya ended up in jail. She's out now. It's fine. But the last thing I think she picked up from there was that they'd found someone, one of our friends. We were worried. That was the hence the group check-in. I was a little bit worried that they were onto somebody. I think the police here are probably okay, but I think Soraya's had some poor dealings with them, and it's a little bit untrusting of them.
Right.
But we thought it was worth checking in on the crew and making sure that everyone was all right, obviously. But if they found one of our friends, then who sort of throw up friends, maybe that's who they were referring to.
Well, they might be looking for me, and they could find me, I suppose. They might be looking for him. I don't know. But what I do know is apparently the hospital's looking for him because, people aren't supposed to just disappear from hospital.
No, I mean, ideally not. Speaking as a military medic, of course, private hospitals might be completely different, but that's good though. And to be fair, I don't see any anyone sort of left and right, but not directly behind him. I don't see anybody closing in on our current location, so I think it seemed. I don't think it's you.
Well, that's good.
My gut instinct tells me.
No,
I may be
that's
wrong.
good. So the only reason I came here really, other than the fact it was out of the way and there's rough ground and an easy place to hide, was
and the banner.
Yeah. I didn't know you had a banner. That was really an easy thing to spot. But the it occurred to me that maybe Fess was coming to the VCI team. And if he was, maybe I could spot him here. But if he did come here, if he arrived, he would probably have made it before me, having set off earlier. And I haven't seen him loitering around it. It's possible he's in there, of course.
Yeah. Interestingly, though, they placed quite well in their first race. If he showed up, I'd assume it would be for for the subsequent races in which they didn't do so well. I'm sure that's irrelevant. Anyway, thanks. I'll keep an eye out. I'll see if I can communicate anything to Cara or the crew. I don't know whether they'll be in a better position or a worse off position to see if they can spot him.
It's worth asking. I've been checking on the sort of news. There doesn't appear to be any mention of Fess leaving hospital or absconding or running away. I mean, as far as I know, the police aren't after him inherently, but they may be curious about why he went missing. Anyway, I can't judge these things from where I am. All I can do is say the hospital was a bit concerned when he went missing, and I came here on the off chance he was coming here.
It's hard to judge things from the middle of a bush. I would, if I'm jumping to assumptions, though, I would say if what Soraya overheard was true and they're closing in on him, and what you think is true, and he is actually here, that perhaps the police are in amongst the crowd down there. I'm not sure. I don't necessarily. It's not entirely the best place for you to be hanging out. I might be wrong, but
well, I figure if I see people starting to come this way who aren't, wearing giant banners,
sure,
I've got a fighting chance of skulking away up the slope a bit.
As long as you're looking after yourself.
Truth is, I haven't done anything wrong.
No, certainly not
recently. So there's no actual cause for them to go hunting for me with an enormous amount of effort.
Yeah, you know us. We were just more concerned about. I think you were a bit worried at the time, weren't you? I think.
Yeah.
With him around at the Cascade, and we care about our crew. We want to make sure that you feel safe and that you're happy in your work, and we'd like to continue that.
That's very nice of you. I don't know how Stefan's doing. Is he all right?
He's the one person we haven't heard much from at all. I think by design. I certainly haven't attempted to contact him. To be honest, I'm not sure. It's slightly worrying, but I think he knows what he's doing.
Okay.
Most of the time, he knows what he's doing. If he's not, well, if him and Soraya aren't four mimosas drunk in the middle of a brunch, I think they can both look after themselves.
Oh, yeah, I don't doubt it. No, I just, while it's the two of us here and not some of the more civilian-minded people in the crew, I just wanted to mention that if it does turn out that the only way we all get off this rock together is if we, say, shoot our way into a jail and break him out and kill 11 people, there are people on your crew who aren't up for that kind of thing necessarily, and I'm not one of those people.
Well, that's greatly appreciated. Thank you for thank you for your willingness to do such a task in the name of the Baltic Star.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping it won't come to that. I think we all are.
Oh, me too. I just wanted you to know that if it does come to extraordinary levels of violence, I'm on board.
Perfect. I will. I'll add your name to the potential roster of. I'm not sure. We haven't come up with a code name yet for the murder team. But
okay. Yeah.
When we do, I'll add your name to the list.
That's absolutely fine. I can go a whole day without killing people. I don't need to. It's just I'm available if needed.
Perfect. That's the last of my cheesy balls. I don't think I can I can play picnic anymore. But look after yourself, and we'll see you back at, I'd assume, the Coronet, if not the Baltic Star.
Well, now I know that people are mostly free of restraint and can move around easily and that kind of thing. I'll be freer with my communications, so we can stay in contact. I was just worried about calling somebody or messaging somebody if their phone was currently being held by a police officer.
So Soraya's was, just for full disclosure, I don't know. She was a little bit paranoid about it. I don't know whether that impacts your decisions, but just so you're aware, Soraya's was when she was locked up, obviously.
Okay, that's fine. I mean,
I think everyone else is all right.
If it's necessary, we can always throw Soraya's in the lake and get her another one. It's not impossible.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, good work, by the way. Thanks for the heads up on our friend.
No problem at all. I'll let you know if I see anything.
Perfect. And he'll chuck the last cheese ball into his jaws and start making his way down the slope.
Okay.
He'll pick up little bits of the remnants of other people's picnics. Obviously, litter on such a beautiful planet. He'll pick up the rubbish on his way down, and when he gets to the bottom, make out as though he's just been doing a good deed.
Good man. As you sort of glance around on the way down the slope, you realise that while it's entirely possible, certainly if they have sophisticated sensors, people searching that slope might well spot Zoe's heat signature or whatever.
Yeah.
For the naked eye, she's pretty well hidden.
He smiles somewhat coyly at the skills of Zoe, and thinks how lucky we are to have such resourceful people on our crew. In fact, he'll type that into the group chat. Thanks, all. You're such a resourceful bunch. We appreciate you. Send.
You can imagine Johnny going, "That's great, thanks. By the way, knocked on all the doors, no Zoe."
No answers. Yeah.
Oh, poor Johnny. Wild goose chased.
Yeah, and he'll just make his way down to the bottom. I suppose he'll. First things first, he'll go to the ISB tent and see if he can either get in or catch Kara.
Okay.
Get her attention from over the barrier.
Well, it's up to Kara whether she's inside the hangar or out. If she's inside, she won't be able to see you, but presumably you could always send her a message and say, "I'm outside, can we meet?"
Well, she had gone with the other members of our crew, of course, to get a brunch, but her phone's with her, of course. Let me just sneeze. I'm putting it on mute just so you know, but I'm going to have a little hay fever sneeze. You do your thing there. Hang on.
So as he gets there, he'll look around and I suppose he inquires, have they still got security on the gate?
Yeah, there are permanent security outside these hangars. I mean, we're not talking tanks and machine guns, but guys in uniform.
He'll go up to one and say, hi, Agnar and Carl Alaska Productions. Is Carl available, please?
Good point. I'd forgotten that. The security guard will, of course, call in. If Kara is in the building, they will find her. It's not, it's a big building, but it's not that hard to find people in the team. So if the brunch you're having is in the building, is in the hangar,
yeah, it is.
then Kara will indeed find a crew, a member of the team, some random person, wander up and say, "You're wanted at front gate security."
Is it Garbineth Whalen? Is he back for more? Has fame gone to his head?
No, this is not who that is. No.
Good old Garb.
I've noticed he's parted his hair differently. He's looking a bit fancy, like he's Billy Big Time now.
Well, he no longer has to look scruffy.
That's true. Thank you, very good, my good man. I'll go and greet whoever it is at the gates. What do they look like, by the way?
The person who came to notify you.
Yes. No. No, the person that notified me. I'm asking. What's the person at the gates look like, by the way?
Old, heavily armored Varga.
That narrows it down. Thank you. I think I might know who it is. Thank you very much.
There's a slight air of, floof.
Yeah, I got it. Good. Thank you very much. I know exactly who that is. I had it with old, to be honest.
You had me at old.
Don't know that many old people.
I like to think as this conversation's going on, Agnar's twiddling his thumbs and thinking, "Oh, I should have told them to say that she was wanted by Zidani and Fess's description. Next time.
They were right. They said that an old, bedraggled, old, flea-bitten, mangy Varga had called for me. What a joy to see you. How are you doing?
Well, that's your target audience, and he points up to the banner behind him, which is now switched back on, that says Kara's #1 fan.
Can you not?
It's more of a reflection on you, I feel, than it is on me.
I love what you're doing. I love your celebration, but it looks bad on me if you're my #1 fan. I love you, man.
Oh, then he switches it back to the previous one with her social medias and the ISB colours. Is that better?
Yeah, it's all about the brand these days, mate. I'm afraid. Me and you, we're close. We're like this. We're like peas and carrots all over again. But you know what it's like. We're trying to big up ISB. We've got to play to that youth audience. They'll get turned off by anyone over 37. Apparently, that's the cut-off point. They get very upset. So it's harsh, mate. Harsh.
Seems young.
Everything seems young to you.
How's the you've got a little, how is the bunch in there? Do they kick a good goat?
I must be honest, the portions are small. It's more of a pygmy goat that they're kicking in there. But we've managed to get bits and pieces. Freya don't eat too much anyway. She's doing okay. Cat keeps going on about weight on the Pelago racer or something. So I think she's planning to exist on air and water for the next 4 days or something. But I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah, well, as long as it's not heavy water, then she should be fine. And he'll sort of usher her away from, I suppose, the crowds to try and find a secluded spot, or as secluded as they can possibly get.
Agnar, why are you ushering me over to this secluded spot? Do you have something to say?
Come, Cara, come. Listen, and he'll lower his head and he'll say, "I just met with Zoe. She's all right. She's good."
That's good. No, that is good. I've been a bit worried about
her. But she's very resourceful. I don't know if you saw my message. She's very resourceful. She was keeping an eye on the hospital, and Fess has gone missing.
That's concerning. How quickly can a man survive from a stab wound? You must have healed I warned you, Agnar. You were too good to him. You treated him too well, and he's up on his feet within like 48 hours. This is. Did you use one of your good med packs?
No, actually, I think I used. I used a standard med pack.
Just.
But I am good. So. Plus, you know, he was in an actual medical facility for some amount of time, so I'm sure they probably helped.
That's worrying though. He's not going to come look for me, is he? I don't want to spend any more time with him.
I mean, I would be more worried that he's going to go and look for the person that he'll look around and lower his voice a bit more that stabbed him in the neck. To be honest, I mean, if it was me, that'd be my first port of call.
Well,
but
if he can find him, he's a step ahead of me. No idea where he is.
The other option, of course, is that he was up to something already, or that he just wants to return to the Von Cotswold team. It was Von Cotswold, wasn't it?
VCI, yeah.
Yeah, maybe he just wants to go back to VCI, and I don't know. I mean, you know, I get the impression that he's always got something on the burner.
Yeah.
And maybe he just wants to get on with that.
A side hustle. I think I'm just worried because, like I said, before it all kicked off, and he took a call and he looked at me and he said, you know, he sort of grinned and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry you have to be here for this." So he's got there's something going on, man. There's something well shifty.
That sounds grandiose and ominous.
But he's a grandiose and ominous man. You know, he's wheels within, isn't it? He's playing 4-dimensional checkers and 6-dimensional snooker and things like that, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like the kind of thing you say. You don't say that to someone when you're sat around a table and there's 3 of you there. You don't say that then. You say that when you're at least in a room full of people, if not on a planet full of people. Don't you? Maybe that's just my military background. But it sounds like a big thing rather than you and me. Oh, I'm sorry, you have to be here for this. I don't know.
I think it's worth keeping an eye. Have you spoken to Johnny recently? He's good at trailing. How about sending him out to see if he can keep an eye on Fest?
That's a very good point. Actually, Johnny's currently knocking. Well, no, he's been really useful. No, he's going around the cornet knocking on doors, trying to find Zoe.
Has he joined the cult? Has he?
Do you have a moment to speak about Heron Howe?
Our Lord and Saviour, the Pope.
Yeah.
Pope's gonna pope.
Pope's gonna pope. Exactly.
I'm not sure how well equipped he is for just finding someone out of thin air, but
this is Fess's territory and he knows a lot of people.
I'll give him a call. Yeah, I'll give him a call.
I'm worried, man. If he's out and about, like, you know, his motives are ulterior. All his motives are ulterior. And yeah, man.
Listen.
We can't let anything stop what we need to do. You know what we need to do. We need to get it done. And if he's out and about again, him actually being in hospital actually kind of helps us in a way.
It was a bit
he's tied into this
soothing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Made me feel a little bit more comfortable.
Exactly. So this throws the cat amongst the pigeons, as it were. If you've ever seen a pigeon, they're like small sea bats.
What's a cat?
Like a much smaller version of you.
Oh, Rose has got a cat,
yeah,
hasn't
yeah,
she?
Yeah.
I know what a cat is. Yeah, sure. Right, listen, I'm gonna go check out VCI.
That's good, man. That's good.
I'll set Johnny on it. How's the qualifying going? Doing all right?
Well,
missed the last little bit.
I don't want to blow my own trumpet. I was.
Ah, yes,
not-
you do.
I do. I was good. Cat was good. We're back on for race 5. I'm feeling very confident. As cocky as I'm getting, we know what the primary aim is. You know, we need to be on that boat for the race. Things are looking good so far. I reckon if we look good in Freedom 5, I think if we can nail that, I think we're looking good for the race itself. At least a few of us. Do you know what I mean? It's good. Right?
Yeah.
Cat is spot on. Cat is spot on. So really, I just need to make sure I'm on my game as well. Get a carvings expert with us, and I think it's looking good.
Good job.
Are you sure you don't want to replace me? You don't fancy the trip yourself? You don't fancy being pinged out the back of a ship at 200 miles an hour?
No, thanks though. I've done my fair share of drops into combat zones. I don't particularly want to.
Now you're a general. You're taking the classic general route of watching the whole thing from a fancy place, wining and dining with a beautiful lady. From many miles.
Yeah, precisely. And he digs around in his pocket and pulls out one last cheesy ball that you didn't realise he had. And yeah, precisely, holds it up and chucks it in as well.
Well, you know, enjoy it. I hope you enjoy the show. Yeah, I'm going to get back. I think we're getting through the races. I think we're pretty much getting close to 5. So, but thanks for catching up. I hope you get sorted out what you need to. Message if you need. And if I'm free, of course, you've got my attention.
Thanks. Good luck with the piloting and the comms and the social media and the shooting out of the back of the ship at ridiculous speeds.
I'm juggling so many things. It's very hard being me. You lot have it easy.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
Keep getting people cheering though. The more we can get this team cheered for, I think that's going to help us. Don't know how yet, but let's make a noise. Yeah, let's do it. Let's get people behind.
Yeah. I mean, you might have to bear with me till we're back up in the stands. I'm gonna, switch his backpack over to VCI colours. I'm gonna try and blend in for a little bit, but when the proper race starts, you'll know I'm there.
Good man. Anyway, enjoy your afternoon with your lady friend, and we'll catch up later.
Yeah. Stay safe.
Peace out.
All right. So as you part company,
peace.
Kara turns her way back into the sort of hangar and glances left and right. Inside the ISB hangar, there's a fair amount of commotion going on. Cassie is yelling at an official from the race, and pointing at the scoreboard and clearly very upset. The official is sort of holding up his hands like this, like, there's nothing I can do kind of thing. But she's obviously very upset.
Kara eases her way through the crowd the best she can, sort of past the commotion, and heads up to Cassie. Hey Cassie, what's the matter? What's up? Things are looking stressful.
The official glances at you almost gratefully and makes his escape while you're distracting Cassie.
Coward.
She says, "It's VCI. Obviously, it's VCI."
They are the big bad, aren't they, Cassie?
Prelim 3. I don't know if you were watching the scoreboards, but Prelim 3 DSS won again. VCI in 3rd. Prelim 4, VCI came in 2nd and DSS 3rd. But here's the thing. You know how they're using the same craft?
Yes.
Exactly the same. Well, those two teams are therefore, I'm absolutely sure they're sharing their setup information. And we've now seen them actually swapping crew.
What?
They're literally taking, like, teams during this preliminary phase. From they're building them from a pool of people that they're swapping them back and forth. We've got actual, DSS people walking into a hangar wearing DSS outfits and then pulling on a VCI uniform and racing for VCI, and vice versa.
What?
And I'm told, because until you announce your team on the day of the race, it's not actually locked in yet. None of this is illegal, but it feels like cheating,
It feels immoral, if nothing else. It's not cricket, is it? Do you know what
It
cricket
is not buckyball.
It's not buckyball, exactly.
It is definitely not
Ah.
buckyball.
How far ahead of us were they the last couple of races?
In the third race, we finished 7th. And in the fourth, we finished 4th. We're off the pace generally, but it's just, I don't know. Apparently, it's not against the rules. Until you announce your team, you can swap people around. Theoretically, I could go and race for VCI until the teams are announced. But it just feels unfair. Like when it's all shaken out, they will pick the very fastest, the very best, and they'll stack them in one of those teams. And then, I don't know, the other one will just agree to be a second tier competitor. It's cheap, and I don't like it.
It's everyone's concerns from the start. Cassie, there's ways I guess we can go about it. It's up to you. Like, I'm getting views, I'm getting people behind it, we're getting some crowds going. I can sow some seeds of discontent among the populace if you wanted.
I mean, it would be nice if I wasn't the only one shouting about this. If the crowd was upset about it, that would be, that would be better, I guess.
Do you have any footage of people changing, going from ship to ship?
Yeah, I can get you some footage. The problem is, as I say, it's actually not against the rules.
No, but we're getting the youth, right? Youth are idealistic, right? We're getting them in on the team. We get this a lot of new fans and things that sort of believe in, really getting in on it. And I think we could make a big thing about how they've got the same boat, how they've got this, and push it as, like I say, it's not illegal, but it just feels wrong, right? You can at least get people against.
It feels that there's something unethical about two teams sharing information when they're supposed to be in competition with each other.
Yeah, we could do it. We could push it because it is unethical. It's not. Don't feel right. I don't know what it'd do, but it'll at least cause a bit of a stink, right? If enough people go about it, at least the news will bring it up or something. A paper, a rag, or something. Some blogger will do something. Things spread, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, it's going to have to wait until after Prelim 5 because that's going in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, let's do Prelim 5, and then when we come back, keep me off the boat, and I'll put something together. Yeah.
Thank you. I'd appreciate that. You guys all ready?
I hope so. I haven't had a wee. Is it still only 8 minutes?
Oh yeah.
Then I hold it in. I focus better
Good.
when I need a wee.
And the group of you trot down, reassembling your little gaggle. It's a slightly different group this time from the Prelim 2 group. They've swapped a couple of people around, but all four of the Baltic Star people are still together. And as predicted, Cassie says, if you did the wings last time, you're doing the depth this time. And you all leap onto the craft and clamber in through that hatch and settle into to begin preliminary 5. And as the craft pulls away and gets ready, waiting for the start, I think that's where we'll call it for tonight.
Oh, it's like the circle of life.
Feels a bit like a Tony and Rudy adventure where we start back off next week where we started off this week.
Exactly.
Oh.
A thematic weekend indeed. Thank you, Ben.
Much fun. Thank you both.
That's right, thank you. Feels like
No problem at all.
I was feeling so comfortable with Fess locked away in lots of pain. Now I'm very upset that he's out.
Well cared for and looked after in the hospital. Now he's roaming free. We don't know what's going to happen.
Shenanigans, that's for sure. Never easy.
Well, I sort of suspect that you must have realised at some point he would re-emerge into the story.
Yes, maybe.
I hope he would re-emerge at his funeral.
I mean, to be fair, you did have a quick go at arranging that.
Yeah, but someone decided to save his life.
It's true. It's true. It's
I
one
like
of
to
those
think
things.
that the Hippocratic Oath, has spread so far.
The floofy Hippocratic Oath, idiot.
It may have changed name. It may have a completely different origin, but it feels like the kind of story that should travel a whole galaxy, universe.
Yeah, it is just worth mentioning that at various points in this campaign you've encountered dying people and tried to resuscitate them, and you managed to do so with Fess and fail with Grehil. Yes. And that seems a weird way round.
Yeah, but weird enough that it kind of works. The almost serendipity of the moment.
Yeah.
Makes for an interesting story point, if nothing else.
Well, of course. Yeah. And that's the most important thing. As long as it's an interesting tale. Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much for joining us, whether live or on VOD. We always appreciate it. And thank you so much, so many people for jumping in chat. And one of those people was John Legitimine. And he will be back with us tomorrow night for the next or possibly previous episode of the Tony and Rudy adventure.
Oh, I love the Tony and Rudy.
I hear John has a really good boxing record, doesn't he?
He does.
Isn't it something ridiculous? Like
I'm undefeated. I think it's about 11-0, and one of those was a train.
That sounds right.
So yes. So yes, if you can, please join us for Tony and Rudy Adventure 3, episode, depending on how you call it, 4 or -9. Because we've rather lost track of how time works in this adventure.
That's purposeful.
Yes,
that's not because of drunk and losing track of time. that's actually a plot
The episodes are linear, but with a big cravat.
Yes, this is actually plot-related chaos.
Bill Murray would be at home there. Let's put it that way.
I might watch that tomorrow, just to prepare.
Just to prepare yourself. Good man. Right,
well, thank you very much.
You've got to kidnap the stuffed bear. That's how you get away from it.
The bear is usually the answer.
If the bear sees its shadow, you have to.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you then, Ben. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Ewan. I appreciate anyone still here.
It's been a joy.
It's always a joy. Should we go? I tell you what. I do feel like I'm gonna find. We haven't.
It's been a while.
Ages. We haven't raided
It's
for
been a while.
Let's raid, even if it's only just briefly. We might find something exciting and new, and it would be nice to raid. Like DM are friends. They've got a lot of viewers tonight. They don't need our help, but we like them.
Back into it.
Let's see if let's see if our main boy's there though. Yeah. Oh yeah, I know him. Let's do that. That's the MDM Studios. They're good. They're a good bunch. Raid DM underscore studios. Let's see if that works. It does. Look at that, the race. Come and join us or don't, but we're going to raid. We'll see you all soon. This is a good channel, so it's nice to join them. Take care, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow night at 11 o'clock. That's when we're going, isn't it?
Good
Love
night.
you all. Take care.
Good night.
Bye. We jumped? Yes.
Yes, yes, we have.